Gentlemen, I call to order the regular City Council meeting of the Sierra Vista City Council for July 28th, 2022. We'll start as we usually do with roll call. Ms. Adams.
Mayor Rick Mueller.
Present.
Councilmember William Benning.
Present.
Councilmember Gregory Johnson.
Present.
Councilmember Angelica Landry.
Present.
Councilmember Mark Rodriguez.
Present.
Councilmember Carolyn Umphrey.
I'm actually present.
Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Mrs. Adams. We'll start tonight with the invocation led by Justin McPeak of the Thunder Mountain Church, followed immediately by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Dr. Landry. Please rise.
Let's pray. Father, I thank you for this evening, and I thank you for the individuals, the people that you brought, the leaders that you brought into this city, and I pray for its good, that you would bless it, that you would take care of it, that you would secure its future, that you would give every single one of these council members give them the ability to make wise decisions for the best of the city, for its future good, that we may thrive in this place. And I thank you for the leadership that you've established for this season, and I thank you for them, Lord. And I also I know in the next week there are so many kids that are going to be going back to school across the city, so I pray that you would keep them safe, that you would give administrators everything they need, every bit of margin, every bit of resource to be able to do the work that you've called them to do. I pray and ask the same thing for every single educator, every single teacher, all those that are in special education, every counselor, all the support staff that goes into it. I pray in the next week that you would bless our schools in a really powerful way. So thank you for how good you are. Thank you for putting us in such a beautiful city as this. And I pray for wisdom in tonight's agenda. Show the leaders what they are to do, and show us how we are to move forward together. And Jesus, it's in your name that I pray these things. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Thank you, Reverend McPeak, and thank you, Ms. Landry. We now go on to the acceptance of the agenda. Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I move the agenda for the regular City Council meeting of July 28, 2022 be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any additions, completions, subtractions on the agenda?
No math.
Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed?
I think that was there.
You delayed there, William. Is that, it's unanimous? Okay, thank you very much. We'll now move on to the city manager's report. Mr. Katucci.
Thank you, Mayor Mueller, members of the council. Your next regularly scheduled work session scheduled for Tuesday, August 9th, 3 p.m. here in the council chambers. And then, of course, your next meeting will then be the 11th of August, 5 p.m., also here in the council chambers. A few items of interest tonight. First, as I mentioned on Tuesday, some good news regarding the public safety retirement system unfunded liability situation that we've been dealing with for the last number of years. And just to summarize and make it easier, the overall unfunded liability dropped from around $46,300,000 over the last fiscal year to $35,250,000, or a decrease of about 25% in 1 year, which is really outstanding. And of course, council approved policies and financial strategies that we've been employing have been helpful to this, but the main reason for the drop is because of good investment performance by the public safety retirement system fund managers last year. So we'll see what happens next year, but so at least for this year, it's good news. Some projects, as you're aware, Charleston Road is now finished, and then the Avenida Escuela extension is scheduled to be finished by the end of August, so that project will be wrapping up. And Charleston Road obviously turned out very well, so we're pleased about that. At long last, Station 4, the EMS substation over on Buffalo Soldier Trail and 7th Street at Tompkins Park will be going live on Monday. So there's a few little punch list items there, but we'll be live and in operation on Monday. So that's very, very good for the community. The Garden Avenue improvements design from Frye to Buffalo Soldier Trail, those design services are underway, and we expect completion in April of 2023. New restrooms at the sports complex. That'll make a lot of people happy. Prefab restrooms have been ordered, and we expect completion of that project in December. And then the Sear Park shared use bike path is underway. K&G is doing that project, and estimated completion in September of 2022. And that's all I have tonight. Thank you, Mayor Mueller.
I'm gonna start with a question on this, the bridge on Avenida Escuela. We have a date yet. It looks like it's when I go by, it looks like it's fairly complete. And I talked with one of the managers, construction managers, said that wash has been taking a lot of water in the last couple of days, last week or so. So we have a date.
Sharon, do you have an exact date? I know it's August, but
He told me about 4 weeks.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of council, what they are currently working on is the gabion baskets. Those are the rock-filled baskets around that major drainage conveyance. It does take time to fill those gabion baskets. I was out there this morning, and there was still a lot of rock left to be placed. So that is going to take a little time yet. So I would say best guess, maybe 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay. The other question is, once that bridge is up, we're gonna have a ribbon cutting, and the same question for the new fire station. Are we gonna have a dedication ribbon cutting?
yes, Mr. Mayor. In fact, we talked to Chief Deaver yesterday about that. So we'll be putting together a ribbon cutting and an open house. So we're working on finding an
So the
appropriate
public can
date
come
to
see
do
it,
that.
yeah.
And obviously, we'd like people to be able to walk through and be able to see it as well. So we'll let council know, but it'll be pretty soon.
Okay,
We want to kind of get
It's
things,
upcoming. I know. You wanna get things set and safe and everything else before you allow the public in. I got you. Any other questions for Mr. Patuchik on his report? Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, now we go to the consent agenda. Ms. Humphrey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the consent agenda consisting of the regular city council meeting minutes of July 14th, 2022, the special meeting minutes of July 21st, 2022, and resolution 2022-052 designating David J. Felix, Chief Financial Officer, as the person authorized to sign and submit the city's annual expenditure limitation report for FY 2023 be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any comments, questions, or discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. We now go to the first of a number of public hearing items. Item number 3, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that Resolution 2022-053, a Series 9 liquor license application for an interim permit, owner transfer, limited liability, company type of ownership for Muhammad, I'm going to butcher this, Fakir Rahman, on behalf of Vista Beverage House located at 999 East Frye Boulevard, Sierra Vista, Arizona, be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mrs. Adams, may we have the staff report, please?
Mayor Mueller, members of council, as stated by Mr. Councilmember Johnson, this Series 9 liquor license, it's a liquor store liquor license. This is an application for an interim permit and an ownership transfer. The notice of this public hearing was posted on the facility in excess of the required 20 days, and we have received no comments from the public, pro or con, and I do not believe there were any requests to speak this evening. The police department has done the required background check on the applicant and has no objection to this moving forward. If approved tonight, it will be returned to the State Liquor Board for final action.
Thank you, Mrs. Adams. Any questions for Mrs. Adams? Before I call for the question, I'll open it up to the public. Is there anyone in the public that would like to address us tonight on this item? Seeing none. Any comments or questions from council?
None.
Seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank
We next move on to item number 4. Dr. Landry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that Resolution 2022-054, reaffirmation to continue annexation proceedings, be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Fisher, would you give staff report, please?
I'll bring it up.
Thank you, Mayor Mueller, members of council. Good evening. My name is Blake Fisher, one of the planning staff of the Community Development Department, and today we have step 2 of 3 in the formal annexation process, and this is a reaffirmation of Resolution 2022-049, South City Annexation, Request to Proceed, albeit done in a public hearing setting. To recap, the South City Annexation area, as defined here in the legal map in the crosshatch, consists of 19 general business zone properties totaling approximately 67 acres. Of these 19 properties, 5 are undeveloped, 1 is for utility services, 3 are quasi-public, such as religious services, 2 are industrial, 2 are mini storage, and 6 are for retail/office space. Areas defined for annexation were largely depicted in the city's long-term annexation map, as approved by council resolution in 2008. In addition to the described parcels, several pieces of right-of-way have also been included in the annexation area. This includes a section of Golden Acres Drive, as shown here, the entranceway, the entirety of East Monsanto Drive, and also a portion of Glen Road. We'll also be annexing this section of the highway, as we only currently have annexed this half of it, though that remains under the jurisdiction and maintenance of ADOT. There's also a section of undeveloped right-of-way here connecting from Golden Acres down to the end of Monsanto. That is largely unimproved and is only serving as the current location for where the sewer main line is running down. For this annexation to be successful, staff is required to collect the minimum amount of signatures of 1/2 or greater in value of the real and personal property, and more than 1/2 of the persons owning real and personal property that would be subject to taxation by the city. The city currently possesses 8 qualifying pre-annexation agreements for the annexation area, which are of sufficient quantity and value to effectuate the annexation via ordinance. This can be done as soon as August in one of the next council sessions. In addition to public outreach and notification, with relevant comments received and distributed to council, staff has reached out to the city's fire, police, and public works departments for comments. No objections have been received from these departments. To briefly address a question raised by Council Member Rodriguez during the work session about the city's capacity to serve with regard to fire department, we looked into the issue a little bit to see essentially how we are in terms of fire hydrants. And we do have capacity to respond to Golden Acres Drive up here on the north side as well as the south side, though it is recommended that in the future a fire hydrant be placed here on Monsanto. And again, as City Manager mentioned, we do have a intergovernmental agreement with the Frye Fire District to respond to this area, so the city is already responding to some of these calls in this area. In addition to the public outreach, again, to summarize, this resolution item is a reaffirmation of the prior approved request to proceed. Passing of this resolution does not constitute final approval of the annexation, but rather allows staff to schedule the final ordinance on the upcoming agenda and circulate the recorded petition to remaining property owners. Thank you. This concludes the staff report.
Any questions for Blake right now? Well, hang on. Let me. This is a public hearing item. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address us on this item? Yeah, I did receive an email from a gentleman who couldn't be here tonight, and what I'd like to do is read it into the record. And it comes from G. Siegel, and he says, I received a letter 2 days ago. I received by letter 2 days ago notification of council's intent to hear and possibly vote on annexation of my property. since I was already scheduled to be out of Sierra Vista at the time, city staff has given me the email address to contact council. As I addressed to city staff, this is an adverse action to which I cannot agree, and it's applied unfairly to my property while other properties adjacent to mine are being exempted. I reiterate my request to be eliminated from the annexation area, and it's signed G. Siegel. So I'll have this put in the record if there's no objection to the council. Okay, so we'll close the meeting to the public. Go ahead, Greg.
Mr.
I was
Mayor,
going-
was there somebody in the audience that wanted to speak?
Oh, I'm sorry. Sir, you need to come up to the microphone so people at home can hear you. And before you leave, we need to get your name and address so we can make sure you're properly addressed in the record.
Yes, sir. My name's Enzo with City Creek Furniture. I'm one of the proposed parcels in the annexation. I thought I understood.
So, I'm sorry, I should say you also have 5 minutes to address this. I don't know why I'm off key. I'm off my speed tonight. Okay, go ahead, sir.
I thought I understood him to say that it had to have more than half the property owners, which was 19. But I thought I understood him saying that only 8 of them have signed the document so far.
Well, the requirement is to have more than half of the, and Blake, you correct me if I'm wrong, it's more than half of the property owners and more than half of the property value.
Okay.
And what was briefed to us is we've met both those standards.
Oh, already?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
To clarify briefly,
You need to come up to the microphone so we get it recorded. Sorry.
To clarify briefly, several of the properties are owned by a single property owner. For example, U-Haul Mini Storage owns 2 properties. So that is why it may appear there's 19 properties, but 8 signed signatures. So in total, there's about 15 property owners.
So if I own 2 properties,
you count as 1 vote for the
as one
annexation.
vote, or one,
Yes, Mr.
one
Mayor.
property. Okay. Got it.
Yeah, I'm right next to Mr. Siegel, the one that wrote the letter to you guys, the email, I guess. I initially told Blake that I wasn't comfortable with being on board with it. My clients would end up paying, I guess, roughly 2% extra in sales tax on every transaction.
And they also will save on fire
Property tax.
property tax.
Yeah, I noticed that the
I guess
property
I
tax.
guess you save on the property tax, maybe not your client.
Yeah, I saw that there is a little bit of savings on that.
Yeah.
So I guess one of my questions is, if my clients ask me, what kind of benefit are they receiving by paying that extra 2% in sales tax? I hope I'm not being disrespectful by
you're not.
speaking up and asking.
They're now available to have all city services to include fire and police
Okay.
and trash if the trash is more economical from the city. So there are benefits.
If I may, I think.
Go ahead.
So you're saying that what the customers probably want to say is, where's our money going? If we're paying you now 2% more,
Yes,
where's
sir.
that money go? They may not even be residents of Sierra Vista, right? Because you're on the edge there.
Correct.
I know
Yes,
where you're at. I've actually bought a chair from you before.
Yeah, I thought I recognized you today. So
So yeah, I think what he's asking there is, those customers are now, okay, now we're used to paying this, but now that if you annex as a business, you save money as a business owner, but as a customer, they might be paying a percentage more on taxes. Where does that money go?
Yes, sir.
Right. So that's a question for how does that go into our budget, and how does that come out of our budget into, and how does that affect our city as a whole, as our community as a whole? Even if they're not residents of the city, say they live in Hereford or Palominas, and they do go to your store and buy something from you, they are contributing to that tax revenue that the city gets, and then in turn the city uses it in this many ways. I think is what.
Roads,
Right.
police, fire, all the services.
Right. So it wouldn't directly affect somebody who lives in Hereford, but when they come into town to use facilities, that would affect them. And that aspect, I guess, is the answer I think that you're trying to get at, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
what
sir.
benefit are they getting by paying 2% tax?
Yes, sir. I mean, that's the question I want to respectfully answer to them if they,
No,
if
it
they
makes
do ask
complete
me.
sense, yeah.
And just so you know, I was employed by the city of Sierra Vista when I was a young athlete, so I love the city and I'm pro Sierra Vista, so
Right on.
you know, I'm very loyal to you guys.
Thank
But I also wanted you to understand, you know, I didn't feel like because of that extra 2% or whatever it's, you know, the number is, that I was ready to, you know, be on board yet. So, but thanks for your comments, Mark.
Sure.
And normally we're not supposed to have back and forth
Oh.
during this, but that's, I've
Please
allowed
forgive
it,
me.
so it's my fault, just for the record.
Thank you.
Anything
sir.
else?
No, sir. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you being here. Mr. Patucci.
Just as a matter of information as well, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, of course, they asked about the fire hydrant situation, and I've already had staff evaluate that. So we should be able to improve fire service by adding one or two more strategically placed fire hydrants in the area. We're also looking to improve sewer service and extend sewer service to properties that may not currently be served as well, and we're prepared to do that as well as improving the streets in that area. So I think there are a number of benefits to the property owners.
And I think as we annex further south, our Frye Fires has been our partner with us. They obviously service the area as well. And Sierra Vista's proper, our fire department does not have any water tenders, whereas Frye Fire District does. So I know that'll be a dispatch thing and their emergency plan to set up. If we're going on a call, if the fire department's going on a call there, correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, but they will have that in the dispatch to say, send a water tender because we don't have one in the city.
Yeah, we set that up, and I did a little more research, members of the council, Mr. Mayor, sorry, I gotta address it correctly. And there are more hydrants reflected in that area than we previously thought.
Great.
Already, but as Mr. Patuchek had mentioned, there's opportunities for us to strategically place others in that area that would benefit that area for any type of fire response.
Great. Another benefit to somebody's frequency in your business is we have more fire hydrants in the area for safety purposes. So.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay. Anybody else? Any other questions or comments from council on this item? Then I'll call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you very much, and we appreciate the public comments.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see where we are here. Next item is also a public hearing on item number 5. It's going to introduce this one.
It says your name.
It says my name. Okay, a motion is not required. This is just a public hearing item per state law. So item number 5 is the discussion of the property tax levy for the year 2022-23. Ms. Delahaye.
Thank you.
Mrs. Delahaye, excuse me.
Thank you, Mayor and members of council. In accordance with state statute, today is the city's public hearing on the property tax levy. Arizona Department of Revenue provides the fiscal year 23 primary property tax levy rate and total collection amount to the city. For fiscal year 23, the rate is proposed at .1098 per $100 of assessed value, which will generate an estimated of $379,068 this fiscal year. The slight increase in revenue is due to new construction. The rate was adjusted slightly lower in fiscal year 23 due to an increase in valuation of taxable property. So the actual dollar amount paid by a citizen in fiscal year 23 remains the same as the dollar amount paid in fiscal year 22. For this proposed new rate, the city is not required to publish truth in taxation notices for the property tax levy. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, and this is a public hearing item. I do not have anybody that's asked us to address this tonight. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to address this? Seeing none, we'll go to council questions or comments from council. None. Okay, since we're not raising it, we're not lowering it, we're not required to do things legally. So what basically this boils down to, I think. Okay, so all those in favor of continuing? Well, that's right, we don't need a vote on this.
No motion.
Yeah.
No motion on this, so we'll do that at another time. We now move to item number 6. Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mayor, I move that resolution 2022-055, the final budget for fiscal year 2022 2023 be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mrs. Delahaye, may we have the staff report, please?
Yes, sir. The resolution before council today is for the adoption of the fiscal year 2022-23 operating budget for the city, the final amount being $204,417,694. The tentative budget and all state budget forms have been posted on the city's website. To date, we have received 2 public comment emails from citizens, and council will meet on August 11th, 2022 at 5 p.m. to vote on the primary property tax levy for fiscal year 22-23, which will conclude the budgeting process.
And any questions for Mrs. Delahaye?
No. Thank you for all your work.
Okay, Jennifer, you've done a lot of work over the year with your teammates, so we appreciate that. Seeing no further questions, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Delahaye.
Thank you.
All right, now we move on to new business. Item number 7, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that Resolution 2022-056, donation of the forensic computer called Forensic Recovery Evidence Device, known as FRED, to Cochise County Sheriff's Office be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Chief Thrasher, may we have the staff report, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This resolution is to request approval for the donation of the forensic computer, aptly called the Forensic Recovery Evidence Device. We affectionately call it the FRED, to the Cochise County Sheriff's Office to help assist in their computer investigations. For years, we've taken a regional approach to investigation and prosecution of internet crimes against children and other criminal activity related to the internet. In 2010, we purchased this FRED with civilian grant funding and used it for many years as part of these investigations. Since that time, we have been involved in the investigation of cases with the Arizona Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, Homeland Security Investigations, and a partnership with the United States Secret Service that provides free training and equipment to enhance these investigations. Since that time, since 2013, we have been able to get extensive training and over $125,000 worth of equipment to assist in these investigations. So now we have newer devices that are better equipped to handle these type of investigations for us, and this computer is still functional. It can be used by another agency for their computer investigations, and the Cochise County Sheriff's Department, their detectives, have expressed interest in accepting this donation to help out and continue the regional approach. With that, I'll answer any questions.
Thank you, Chief. Questions for Chief Thrasher? Comments?
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
It's great that there's newer equipment available and that this equipment is still functional and can be shared and can still be used. So I think that's great.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? No further discussion? I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. We now move on to item number 8. Dr. Landry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that Resolution 2022-057, amendments to the personnel rules and regulations be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Ms. Fleming, may we have the staff report, please?
Yes, Mayor and Council, good evening. So before you today is a request to do an amendment to the personnel rules and regs regarding take-home vehicles. So our current personnel rules and regs state that a sworn police officer must reside within 15 miles of the corporate city limits to have a take-home vehicle. Our recommendation and request this evening for your discussion and consideration is to remove that limitation and to put in a policy that would allow the police chief and the city manager the flexibility to determine in those situations where necessary for public safety that they could be further out than the 15 miles. So this policy is flexible in order to help us in our current situation with both recruitment and retention, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Questions? Actually, I think it's a good idea, a good for retention to help us through the tight spot that everybody in the state is dealing with police officers and the hiring of police officers. I agree. And so, if there's no other further comments or questions, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank
And
you.
thank you, Mrs. Fleming. Appreciate it. Okay. Next, we go on to call to the public. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address the council that on any subject that's not already listed?
One, I think.
Ma'am, if you just come. The way this works is you've got basically 5 minutes to address the council. We've got ma'am, if you come to the podium so you can speak. Okay. And hopefully we'll have the set of lights working up here so we know when the 5 minutes are up.
So this is I'm asking for a sign for on an easement road next to the apartment complex I live at 1020 South Carmichael Avenue. One of the tenants was hit by another resident and drove off. And this easement road is used a lot, and people speed on it. And fortunately, she was okay. She was in the hospital, but the situation is such that I had to call the police last week, and this guy was barreling through, and it's an easement road, okay, so utilities only. So if we could have a sign that says that and a $500 fine, I would really appreciate it, because we can't handle anybody getting hit and getting hurt. She could have been killed.
Okay, I think, Chief, I'm going to ask her to get with you, if it's okay. We need to find out what kind of sign, where the actual location is, all that kind of stuff. And it may require us either to create a new sign or a...
There's no sign at all.
Well, I mean, a new sign. Usually it's do not enter or whatever else, but we may have to have some type of a sign. And we may have to actually enact an ordinance to be able to enforce that. So
that would be lovely.
It's going to be more complicated than just putting up a sign.
And it is complicated because Casa del Sol is the apartment complex, and so they're actually going to be building another property. So we don't...
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Kathy Kruger's the manager. I told her I was coming to the meeting tonight because, I don't want this to happen to anybody again.
And the other thing I got to tell you is we don't just put up signs.
Exactly.
Put up signs.
Yeah. Well, nobody has to get killed in order to...
Obviously, we don't want somebody to get killed.
Exactly.
Mayor, we can't discuss this.
Please afterwards, if you get with the chief, we'll talk. As I already talked too much, I'm going to get in trouble with the open meeting law. Okay? Yeah, okay. All right. Thank you very much. And is there anybody else? Seeing nobody else moving quickly, we'll move on to comments and requests of council. And tonight, we're going to actually start with William Benning, since you're on the phone.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be brief. One, sorry I'm not there in person, and I just want to thank everybody and just ask people to keep myself and Christy in your thoughts and prayers.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Humphrey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's good to be back, and I wanted to thank Maria and Jill for making it possible for me to participate in the meetings with y'all while I was gone. Believe it or not, I did miss all of you, and I'm really happy. Yeah, I'm really happy to be home.
We missed you too.
Thank you. I also wanted to thank the city staff for. I saw the new website, and I want to encourage everyone to check it out if they haven't been on the Sierra Vista AC.gov website. They've done a phenomenal job. It's exactly what I was hoping for when we were first strategic planning, and it was a request that the community, I heard from the community a lot that we had that we revamp our website, make it more intuitive, user-friendly, and it's just more appealing, and I feel like it's faster, or maybe I was just on better Wi-Fi where I was, I don't know. But it's a really great design, and I want to thank staff for working on it and putting it all together. It's looking great. And then also school starts next week, and we're going to have a lot more people on the road and school buses, so I just want to urge all the drivers out there to take a little extra time and keep an eye out for our little ones crossing the street, and especially in school zones and in residential neighborhoods, because they're going to be out on, they go back on the 4th of August. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's quick, coming up quick. Okay, thank you. Mr. Johnson.
Ms. Humphrey covered my school request to be careful out there and just watch the little ones, because they're used to summertime and they're back to school now, crossing streets and doing things. So please be careful. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Dr. Landry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also wanted to mention school starting next week. So teachers do so much more than, sometimes we realize. They have such an impact that has a ripple effect. So, give extra love to teachers. Give them some encouragement. We'll see what you can do to maybe help them out. There's lots of different back to school things going on. So if you can, maybe help out with supplies or something, or reach out to a teacher. I'm sure that they would be more than happy to accept any help or anything at all. And happy back to school for the teachers and students.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, sir. As usual, I have a lot. All right. So out there in the city, I want to say that the streets department's been doing very well at fixing our bulging, expanding sidewalks in the area that are out there because of monsoon. Monsoon's great, but things like that are happening, right? But they're doing very well. As soon as they can get reported, they're getting fixed. As soon as I check on them, they're already out there fixing them. So I really hats off to that crew out there. I want to thank Officer Bosworth, who did a tire change for a lady on 92 in La Linda Way yesterday. You don't see that in other cities, right? You're not going to see that in other cities. I'll tell you right now. People are just going to drive by, unfortunately. But in our town, that doesn't happen, right? If they see a problem, they'll fix it. And it's a busy part of the road right there, very dangerous. But Officer Bosworth was out there helping that lady. That way she wouldn't have to do it herself. So I definitely want to thank him for doing that, taking the time off to do that. Also in our area, we're very fortunate to have our CCSO SAR. They've done some amazing things, right? Again, monsoon related, crazy weather, things like that. But in particular, there was a gentleman that fell off his horse at Brown Ranch. They went out of the way with them in Frye Fire District to load the horses, load the dog, drive those vehicles to his house and then get him out to the hospital. So just, again, things like that wouldn't happen in other communities. So I'm thankful that we have that in our area. I've seen our SVPD Clarence the Explorer out and about again, so I follow that guy on social media doing recruiting. So again, another recruiting tool. Hopefully Fort Bliss went well. The take-home car, hopefully that's another thing. And anything we can do to help recruiting, I think we should really look into it. I mean, as you can see, it's a worldwide, U.S.-wide thing, even with the military. Military is being more lenient now with things like tattoos and things like that. If little things like that are keeping people from coming into service, they're kind of taking a second look at that and saying, all right, we're passing up some good people, right? So let's do whatever we can to help recruiting. So just want to mention that. As I was out and about again, I saw some parks guys, so I always pull in because I'm nosy, want to see what they're up to. I saw Park Supervisor Brian Mills, who retires in like 4 days from now, I think. Amazing guy. If you ever seen the videos he did last year for the parks, he's a funny guy too. So we got to find somebody to replace him to do the videos. So we're going to be taking applications for that, I think. But him and Mr. Bob Scully were out there fixing electrical boxes on Frye. Unfortunately, we did a lot of work on the west end, which including a lot more electrical boxes. Somebody decided to go out there and take all the lids off and throw them in the street. All right, but luckily we have people that are on top of it on our staff that are out there right away remedying the problem, screwing them down, whatever they have to do to keep that from happening, to keep that area beautiful. So my hat's off to our parks guys that are out there all the time, keeping it look good, keeping it looking nice. We don't have a lot of fires in our area, but when we do, luckily we have a good team of firefighters in the area. We had a trailer fire last week on Friday. We had a lightning strike on one of these notorious Italian spruce trees that go up like matches. Again, our firefighters were there right away to take care of both those situations. So thankfully, thanks to them for this past week. Buena High School had some issues with their roof on Tuesday because of the storm, but they jumped on it and it looks like it's going to be good to go for school. As you mentioned, school starts next week. So hats off to them for fixing that right away. And in mentioning school, I want to thank the Sierra Vista PD, our AZ Rangers that are going to be out there next week keeping our kids safe. And I'm sure we're going to have another problem this year with bus drivers. It's already happening other places. Tucson is going to have like a hub where you got to drop off your kids at a hub. So if you know anybody out there, right, that wants to get a CDL license, they qualify for one, they're kind of sitting at home with nothing to do, looking at someone to give back to the community, have them go apply to be a bus driver, right? They'll get them trained up and help our area out. Last thing today, In Fort Huachuca, I attended the second annual Buffalo Soldiers Day ceremony. Amazing ceremony, right? We are very fortunate to be surrounded by the history of the Buffalo Soldiers, the true home of the Buffalo Soldiers, right? There's other states that say they are, but as we heard today from the historians, we're the true home of the Buffalo Soldiers. And I wish maybe some way we can fix that sign on I-10 that says Historical Fort Huachuca, also home of the Buffalo Soldiers, maybe something like that as a tourism thing for us as well. But if you weren't there, we got to meet the family of First Lieutenant John Fox. Dr. Brian Carter gave a great speech. Dr. Fiona Holter from Fort Huachuca gave a great speech. And then I had lunch with the SWABs, the Southwest Area Buffalo Soldiers, great group of people in the area that are keeping the Buffalo Soldier story alive. That way future generations can know the history of them, and they're always looking for new members to help out with that as well. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I also wanted to start with schools, and I think it's pretty important that we realize if we're driving in the early mornings when the buses are out, the first couple of weeks the kids aren't really paying attention, so we have to be careful. As they get out of school in the afternoon, they're rambunctious and want to get on to doing other things after they've been cooped up all day. So we need to be very careful when we're driving at those times. The other thing is the resource officers in the schools are going back and making sure that security and those kind of things are up to speed and up and the policies and procedures are current, so we won't have any, or we can preclude any events like recently happened in Texas. So we're concerned about that and on top of it. You'll notice that we still haven't appointed a mayor pro tem. We had 11 candidates apply. We had a council executive session. We whittled that list of 11 down to 4, and we will be doing interviews with those 4 very shortly. So hopefully, knock on wood, or I should go like this, we'll have, by the time we meet next time, we'll have a selected candidate. Well, we can vote on a selected candidate in the council meeting and then have them seated. So we'll be back up to 7. With that, is there anything else before the council? Seeing nothing else before the council, meeting's adjourned. Thank you for being here tonight.